You co-host. Yeah. Well, hello everyone. We're very excited tonight. You can tell, I get excited when we have these great guests that come on and these wonderful people that I've actually had a chance to connect with and been inspired from. And as you can see, co-host, I'm just a wee bit excited about tonight's guest. Just, just trying to,
That's good, though. That's good. That means
Oh,
he's going to bring it.
you are going to fall in love with Rex. I tell you this about all the guests that we've had so far with Jay and Dr. Jody. And was I wrong?
No,
Was I-
no, you're
Amazing.
right on it.
Amazing. So, co-host, how was your week?
Inspiring, inspiring. There's been a lot of distractions going on, but I recognize the distractions are to keep you out of focus, and keep you in resistance to what God is doing. So
Mhm.
um, everything is going as it's supposed to go.
Right.
Um, and so I am not entangling myself with all the affairs of the world, but allowing myself to hear what the spirit is saying. So it's been a lot of quiet time, more
Mhm.
listening than talking.
Awesome. Awesome. But when I heard your voice just now, I felt the fighter is coming in, and there's something about opposition, right? I mean,
Mhm.
if you encounter enough of it, it's either going to allow you're either going to have take two positions. You're either going to take the position of victim and get in a corner and feel sorry
Mhm.
for yourself and give up on life and not and die angry and bitter. Are you going to just come out swinging, and you're not fighting any person, place, or thing? You're fighting that opposition that you helped to create in order
Right,
to make you that better, bigger version of yourself. And if
right.
people could just
It,
understand that, if they would get
yeah,
that.
it was a lot of getting the knots out, like the NOT out, so
Hmm.
that the KNOTS comes out.
Hmm.
So it was a lot of God was saying to me, listen to the first voice. He
Hmm.
said, I'm not a secondary voice. So why would I speak to you secondary when I'm the first voice that you're to hear? So in order to do that, you have to be more quiet than speaking. When you're going through the tests, the trials, the tribulations, you cannot be emotional because your emotions will take you out. And so it's been a training session of being more quiet so I can hear that first voice. When I hear that first voice, then I can move forward and then I can talk. So that's been a lot of the training that I've been in these last weeks. And I know why I was being distracted, because I was supposed to focus on that first voice. But in those situations, it causes you to listen for the first voice.
Whose voice is it, Dr. Washington?
It's the spirit. It's the Christ consciousness. It's awakening to what's already in you instead of seeking something outside of you. So it causes you to go in more than you are out, and you can hear better because you've shut out all the noise. It is a consistent and constant meditative mode.
Mm.
It's not a time where you just go. I do the meditation where it's quiet, the music and everything, but when you start walking in true Christ consciousness, you meditate day and night, which means you're in a consistent and a constant meditation mode of clearing all of this so that you can hear this.
You are getting into harmonic flow. Is what
Yes.
they call it. You're getting
Yes.
in harmony because you're syncing up your Christ mind with your
Hmm.
spirit mind, and you're getting all in harmony. And that's when you start to see the magic happen in your life, where the things come in and out, and they're like waves, and you get all these great opportunities, and you're able to see them. Why? Because you're in such harmony, and you're not distracted by whatever is coming around. You're not getting caught up in your emotions. You are in harmonic flow with the power of the universe that makes all of this interesting life game that we have, for you to just really have these wonderful experiences of becoming more. This is what's so exciting. I mean,
Right.
Visitation. I mean, that set me free so much to the point where
Right.
it's like,
Plus, I've really embodied seeking, seeking the king first,
mm-hmm,
and that's through the first voice.
mm-hmm,
And it has caused me to see that in the beginning was the word, and the word was a vibration. It was a frequency. It was not letters or numbers. It was a frequency and a vibration. And we've been following words with an S on it with letters, but we haven't been following the word. God was the word. He was the frequency. He was the energy. He was the vibration. So I've been seeking that first instead of seeking words. So that has caused me to be quiet so that I can feel the vibration, because God wants to feel. That's the praise and worship. He wants to feel that. And so it's been a lot. It's been a
you
lot.
are so full. And I your season 2 is coming up. We're running a Memorial Day, and historically, that's when we launched Stay in Love TV last year, Memorial Day
Oh,
weekend.
okay. Okay.
Also
Okay.
going to be your anniversary for season 2, because you actually, it's interesting because your show was actually on that Monday,
Hmm.
and now it's Memorial Day again, and you're premiering the season 2, and working with Abby, and we're editing your videos, and it's some good stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm like, I I'm so excited for you, because each time, I mean, ever since we met each other since 2020, we've been working together. Ever since that time, it's just been this constant state of evolving, and we both have. And
Hmm.
I'm just so grateful that we actually have partnered up to actually be a means of support for each other, and also to work together to do this. And I'm so grateful, and so excited for you, because there's some great things that are going to be happening for you, um, because of how energetically things are happening. And it's like you're so close to crossing that finish line, where you get to start experiencing this wave of abundance that's going to be coming into your life, where there's going to be changes to your household, where it's going to be expanding.
Hmm.
So, if you're not feeling inspired to look for some place to live, it's going to happen very soon. And you're going to be just feel compelled to start looking for places and everything.
And I do on a daily basis.
Well, there
And
you go. There you go.
yeah, and I look outside of what I think I can afford, because what I think I can afford is what I can afford. If I don't think I can afford it, I'll never be able to. And that's not saying going out of a range, because we are always the frequency. God keeps saying to me, you're always going against me, you're always causing resistance against me. But if you listen for the first voice, I'm going to give you the step to take. And it's not going to be based on your salary. It's not going to be based on how much you have in the bank. It's going to be based on the frequency of which I am bringing forth what I've already planned for you. I have planned this. I have planned this. Follow me. I have the plan. I have the purpose, and I have the power. So the 3 P's, once you follow that, you're going to get into a mode of listening
Hmm.
and hearing what the word is saying, what the frequency is maintaining. Because actually, the frequency is the speaking in tongues.
That's a whole nother show. We'll put a pin in that, because we're actually going. We'll speak to that this season, because you're there, so we're gonna go there. Okay, and I I don't consider myself a bully or anything, but when I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So we'll put a pin in that, because we're gonna probably speak to one of those on with one of the talks for the theme this season. And the theme this season is supernatural visitations.
Right.
uh you know uh, how appropriate, and I'm telling you now how if you're just in harmonic flow, because
Mm-hmm.
when you and I put together these talking points for this season,
Mm-hmm.
we chose Mary. And when Abby and I got together and we scheduled for the shows, I wasn't even thinking, okay, the 14th is Mother's Day. I was
Right.
just saying, okay, we picked a day, boom, and drilled it
Mm-hmm.
down, and this came up. So how interesting that we're talking about the mother on
Mm-hmm.
Mother's Day,
Right.
supernatural visitations. Now, co-host, we have 5 minutes to really just kind of condense this down
Five
and talk about
minutes.
this before we bring the great Rex Sykes on. So, supernatural visitation.
What better way to talk about that than Mary?
Mm-hmm.
Mary to me is the mind, it's the Christ mind,
Mm-hmm.
where the angels came to speak to Mary
Mm-hmm.
about a situation that she was trying to make it as physical, but it was actually a visitation of the Holy Spirit coming to her within. Although it made some effect of her outward appearance as far as physically having Christ, as far as physically being pregnant, it was so much more. It was an example of God coming to us, speaking to our inner being about a spiritual thing that is going to manifest in a physical way. And so the scriptures are spiritual, and we have tried to make God physical, but the spirit is not in us. We are in the spirit. And so Mary had to come to that point, and he chose a young person because a younger person is going to receive quicker than someone. He could have chose a 30-year-old, a 50-year-old. He could have chose whatever, but showing she was about, they said 15 or 16. If you're looking at that six, if she was 16, then that's seven. That's a seven. That's a completeness that God was going through. So everything is signified when God supernaturally speaks to you. It will be like we just talked about, in a vibration, in a feeling, in an experience from the inside out. So that's basically becoming the physical mother of Jesus. She had to become the spiritual mother first,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no way she could have handled this position without being spiritually inclined.
I dig that. I really do. Uh, my take on it
Mm-hmm.
is it's an alignment with what you shared. It's all about a spiritual thing about how you can conceive, but you must be open.
Mm-hmm.
Must be they see she was a virgin, so you must be free from any entanglements that will allow you to resist the message that's
Right.
coming, because
Right.
all of these great things, these promises that come from God, these
Mm-hmm.
downloads that you receive about your purpose and your destiny and your future and all of these great things, um, if you're open and you receive those, it must first be received internally so that you can conceive it,
Right.
because otherwise you can't connect it. And then once you conceive it, then it can become alive within you, and you can manifest it externally, like you shared, to where you will be able to see the outward expression of what was conceived within you internally. And the great thing about how these stories are being depicted in the Bible is people will just be open and not be so literal with it. They could really glean and really grow from these stories and scriptures and how they're being written, because you will be enlightened by that. And I call her Mary, mother of enlightenment. She gave birth to enlightenment. So maybe she was the
Right.
first to serve as the first to do that, where it's showing. And the great thing about it is the Bible does, if you can find yourself in the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
then you can really grow from it. Because if you could, once you become awakened, enlightened by these things, and I've been watching you the last 2 years, and I'm just like, so like, wow, yeah, this awakening that's happening. You do that, you will start giving birth to things that were seen uh, untraditional,
Right.
where
And we've been conditioned to do it the other way. We've been conditioned to conceive it outside first. And then, but the word, which is the vibration and the frequency, became flesh. The flesh did not become the word. And so they've taught us to do it backwards. And so we have to reverse it back, repent, return to its original state, what we were before we were in the womb, and begin to conceive that way. That's eternally. Those things that we conceive the opposite way, they're going to fade away because they're in the matrix. But once we go, that's why we're listening for the first voice so that we know what next. Because Mary said, how can this be? Because she went to the flesh. I've never been with a man. And then the spirit comes, and after the spirit begins to speak to her, then she said, so be it unto me. And that's when the resistance fell, that she was not going to push against this spiritual thing that she really didn't understand, but she was being taught internally to understand it, so she was able to walk in it.
Awesome. And we'll pick back up on that when we have more time, because I want to give Rex as much time as possible. Oh, I'm telling you, Rex Sykes will be joining us after. We're going to do commercial, one commercial, and then we'll be bringing on Rex Sykes, Mindset Master. So stay tuned.
This week's episode is sponsored by Dollhouse of Tampa Salon and Studio. Find your inner doll. They offer quick weaves, sew-ins, and much, much more to fit every occasion. Need a wig? Selena's got you. She will customize a unit just for you. Book your next appointment on Booksy today. Did someone say nails? Honey, forget the Bayhive. Contact Queen Bee herself. She offers customized designer nails and even designer press-ons that she will customize and ship to you. Braids, and even twists. Book with Tiffany right on Facebook. Find your inner doll at Dollhouse Tampa Salon and Studio. Tampa.
That's right. Dollhouse Tampa Salon Studio, Tampa, Florida. Check them out. Okay, so Rex Sykes. Oh, boy. All right, let me just give you guys just a little blurb on his bio here, and you'll get as excited as I am to hear what he has to say. His background as a change agent, actor. Did you know he was a former actor, magician, mentalist, communicator, performer, and survivor. Makes him well practiced in the art of knowing the inner landscape of the human mind. And in his book, Life on Your Terms, he hands you the keys to unlock the magical kingdom within you. Not only do you receive the keys, codes, and passwords, you also get the full behind the scenes tour to know how to use them. You can now take charge of your own thinking and enjoy the abundant riches you're uniquely qualified to produce as you live life on your terms. Dr. Paul R. Shield, PhD. Rex, welcome, sir. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I'm so glad to be here with you, Vanessa and Michelle. I am honored, and I was delighted in listening to your conversation, how marvelous that was and is. And you are both, so thank you. And that was Dr. Paul Sheely, just a wonderful, brilliant mind and a friend, and very, very pleased that he shared those words.
Now, Life on Your Terms, Rex. What inspired you to write this book?
Wow. Well, because like most people, I had a difficult time growing up. I don't mean that the life was necessarily hard. I just mean that we all have come from different backgrounds and different struggles, and I had my struggles, and I write about it in the book. And once I found, my own liberation, my own freedom, I wanted to share it with as many people as I possibly could. And I've been doing that for over 40 years. And then I wrote the book because I wanted to take what I had learned of 40 years of research, 40 years of experience, 40 years of practice, 40 years of helping countless thousands of people transform their lives. I wanted to put it into a simple step-by-step book that people could use that was easy, fun, and it kept them, or it kept them moving forward, so that you could go from where you are anywhere in life to where you want to be, swifter and with less struggle and hardship. There's a lot of myth and a lot of lies and a lot of just downright wrong information out there, and I wanted to kind of set the record straight and show people that change can be fun. Most people crave change, but they fear it too, and you don't have to fear it.
You don't.
No.
And how do you, I mean, what was the tipping point that caused you to really just cross over and really receive all of this wonderful information to put pen to paper?
Well, I've been writing, I've been teaching, I've been training, I've been traveling the globe. People have flown all in from around the world to come and see me. I've done TV talk shows, radio, movies. I still do act and I produce, but I just and I put out other books, and I've done a lot with programs online and audio programs, home study courses, things like that. So it just became time to put it down in a kind of a simple, easy, fun book. And the cool part about the book is it's like me whispering in your ear, and sharing, the best practices and methods and principles that I've discovered, synthesized, borrowed, and learned from ancient masters to modern neuroscientists.
Right. I mean, and there's really, that scripture, there's nothing new under the sun, because
Right.
we're all gleaning from these great masters that really, I mean, foundationally, if you look at it, I don't know what came first, the Bible or the great inspirers, but the source of it stems from, the Bible. And we have, these great mentors and scholars back in the 20s, like Florence Scovel Shinn and all of these great people that really help to inspire us. And you know what, honestly, Rex, I really believe that we're all just kind of reincarnating from these folks from all of these years, and we're gleaning. It's like we're on their shoulders and just putting on their ways, and then just really from our perspective, really reiterating the same thing that will help our generation.
Well, and I agree with that. There is nothing new under the sun. But there are people who haven't heard it before. Sometimes,
Right.
that voice has been spoken by countless, bodies throughout the centuries and throughout the eons, but the same message has been delivered in different languages, in different ways, so people can understand it. I think of it this way. There's only energy. There's only God. You can call it infinite intelligence, energy, whatever you want to call it. I don't care, because whatever we say it is as people, it isn't. It's beyond that, okay? But it's always been there. It'll always be here. It doesn't change. We change our clothes in terms of our physical bodies, but we're all one. We're all the same one source. And I liken it. I always say it's like taking a mirror and breaking it on a table. All those little shards of glass, all that little dust, is still all of the mirror. It's still reflective, but it doesn't. Those little shards of glass think they're separate and they reflect each other and everything, but they are just the same mirror. Or if you take a drop out of the ocean and drop it on a table, it's still ocean water.
Right.
We're not as different as we'd like to think we are. We are in the way that we show up in this world, but consider it this way. You have feet and hands, you've got a butt, you got a head, you got a face, you got a front, you got a back, you got all the different cells in your body. But it's all one life form.
Mm-hmm.
It's all cooperating together as one thing. And some of it's your liver and some of it's your heart. But all of them are important for you to be who you are.
Agreed.
I think a lot of times we've been conditioned away from using what we create within ourselves for our own lives. To me, all of us are different worlds. And although God created the earth, we created the worlds within a world. And just like we created some of this negative stuff that we encounter, for some reason, we don't feel like that we're able to turn it around or do something great. We believe we can create something awful, but we don't believe we can create something great. So that book alone, or the title of that book, is leading, you can do this. We always think somebody has to do it for us, but we're self-equipped.
You're absolutely right, and that's why life on your terms. You direct it. Think of it this way. We have a nervous system, and yet when we describe it, we say there's a sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response. It handles emergencies, and then there's the parasympathetic nervous system. They're both the same thing. They're just dedicated to different tasks, and that's for relaxation and rejuvenation. And it's like you have a head and you have a heart. One is not more important than the other. We think the head is more important than the heart, or we think the heart is more important than the head. But without both of them, we wouldn't be speaking to each other. And we have feet, and the feet in theory can't think. So the head thinks the feet, well, they're a secondary thing, and I'm glad that I have them, but they're not nearly as important as this thing. But maybe the feet are going, without me, you don't get anywhere. So it's all how we think about it. We're one beautiful presence of life, and negativity, or like a battery has both a positive and a negative pole. But it's a battery, and yet it has a positive charge and a negative charge. The world, the universe, has positivity and negativity. This is why I say celebrate everything, and I talk about that in the book. How do you celebrate everything? Well, you celebrate everything by understanding that the good and the bad, the right and the wrong, the love and the hate are all part of the same thing, and just as night and day are part of a 24-hour cycle, or hot and cold are part of temperature, so it's not that. While we have different expressions, and I heartily agree with that, and different voices and different ways of approaching people, and different philosophies and religions and credos and practices, it all stems from within to without, from above to below. It's all one. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and we just describe it differently. I might use some language that you don't use, and you might use some language that I don't use, and yet. We're in some ways, especially if we get it, we're all talking the same stuff. We're just using different words or
different words, yeah.
Different vibrations and wavelengths with different expressions of the same source.
The biggest thing that people need to understand is that we are batteries and walking antennas on the planet. We are a broadcasting station and a reception station, and we're a self-contained, essentially electrical chemical charge. And people say, I don't have enough energy. And that's, to me, that's BS. You got plenty of energy. You just haven't tapped into it. So life on your terms, and what you're talking about in terms of the creative process and the God process is to learn how to direct things. Think of it this way. Your computer can't do anything but what it was programmed to do. And it was programmed to carry out, my computer, it's all programmed to carry out certain things. There's the hardware, and then there's the software that you put in it. But it's not creative on its own. But you can be creative with it, right? So think of your car. Your car can take you from one place to another. And I know they're self-driving cars now, but imagine the old days. Your car could get you from one place to another, but it required you to get in it and drive it to where you wanted to go.
Right.
This is intention. And, the thing is, there's energy. We can call it positive or negative. And most people use it negatively. They focus on what's wrong and all this stuff like that, which we call negative, which is meaningless in many ways. But you get it. People are in pain. They're fearful, suffering, sad, angry, hostile, whatever. And then there's the other side. It's really just deciding where you want to put your intention, where you want to put your focus, and the kind of life you want to create for yourself. Do you want to whine and complain and blame and excuse and have a sucky life, or do you want to have a joyous, wonderful, incredible, beautiful life?
Right.
And the brain, us on the planet, it is essentially programmed to do that. And it's been at the same time programmed wrong in many ways by society, our conditioning. And what we need to do is take back that conditioning. We need to get in there and go, you know what? I don't have to live in poverty, mentally, spiritually, financially, physically. I can live abundantly and prosperously with love and goodness and kindness. But it requires that each of us initiate that process. And that's what the book is about. And that's what I'm about. That's what you're about. But that's the point is to start acting in your own behalf be your own best advocate, speak the best about yourself, think the best about yourself, imagine the best about yourself, behave the best about yourself, and for others as well, and you can create an incredible life. So if you celebrate everything instead of complaining about some of it and liking the other part of it, if you celebrate it all, you become free.
Right.
Agreed. Now, in the book, you tackle in mindset number 1. There's no such thing as self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Now, I all these years I'm thinking, okay, because I took my power back, I'm like, I'm no longer going to sabotage my experience by choosing to lean in that direction of just celebrating everything. But you say that there's no such thing as self-sabotage.
Okay, so why do I say that? Okay, well, first off, I think it's a silly psychological notion. I mean, there's a lot of notions that are useful or beneficial, and there's some that are outdated and some that aren't accurate, but we understand them. And self-sabotage is one of those descriptors for I want to do something, but I don't. Well, here's the truth. Neuroscience, here's the truth. What I said about the brain, from the time that you're in the womb and born, you are being conditioned, to do and think and behave and feel certain ways. So everything that you've done and everything that you do is really a learning experience. You showed up on the planet with some maybe genetic baggage, or predispositions, but everything, you're shaped by your environment and the people and the peers around you, whether it's media, your mom and dad, primary caregivers, teachers, whomever, right? So your brain has learned to do certain things. It's learned to have you roll over, sit up, crawl, walk eventually, learn how to feed yourself, learn how to use the toilet, learn how to read and write, learn how to drive a car or ride a bike. It's learned speak language without knowing how and without reading a book. I mean, all these things you've learned, everything is learned, right? You've learned to feel wonderful. You've learned to feel bad. You've learned to feel insecure. You've learned to feel confident. You've learned to hate yourself and talk badly to yourself. You learn to praise yourself and other things. You've learned that other people are good or bad, depending on what you think, blah, blah. All of it's learned, right? But here's the interesting thing. It would be like your feet. I said before, your head and your feet and your heart are all part of the same thing. It'd be like your feet going, every time I want to go somewhere, that head gets in the way. It stops me. It sabotages me from going where I really want to go. And the point is that your feet probably don't do that. But we will say, I wanted to go, but I have problems with my feet, or I want to do something, but I interfere with myself.
Ouch.
You can't interfere with yourself in the way that people use that thought.
Mm-hmm.
Brain is a learning machine. It can only say yes. So if it learned to smoke, it will smoke. If it learned to bite nails, it will bite nails. If you've learned to feel fearful, it will feel fearful. It does that for 2 reasons. Your brain's prime directive is to keep you alive, survival, fight or flight or freeze, and to keep you to thrive and to replicate the species so that you're happy enough to want to reproduce and so that the species continues. So it takes anything that is a perceived threat or an actual threat and has learned a reaction to that. Fight, flight, or freeze. Okay. It can't do anything that it didn't learn. So the range of human behaviors, it can only do those behaviors, those thoughts. It can't do new thoughts. It can't do new feelings that it's never felt. So think of this for a second. Most people, there's over 4,000 words in the English language that connotate emotions. And yet most people live with, say, 8 or 10 or 12. They get angry, they get happy, they get horny, they get delighted, they feel generous, they feel stingy. They have these feelings, and that's neurally wired into us.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense so far?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Everything is learned. So the same thing is true about biting nails or smoking. If you decide that you want to stop smoking, the brain takes that as a threat because it's designed to keep you consistent.
Because it's going against the programmed
Yes, exactly.
logic.
Right, because it's learned to smoke, and you go, the conscious mind, which is a gift to us, has the ability to redecide and make decisions and say, I don't want to do that anymore. And yet the subconscious mind, which again is just one thing, but we call it subconscious or conscious.
Yep.
the subconscious mind is billions of times more powerful. It's got all these neural pathways wired in, creating habits of thought, habits of feeling, habits of speech, habits of behavior, and the habits that we're capable of, like learning to do things as opposed to just walking down the street. Like you can say walking is a behavior, you know, as opposed to if you're following. So anyway,
yeah, and it's these learned behaviors that can actually be unlearned through the reversing and the rewriting of the programmed logic, the language that you're telling yourself. And the reason why it goes against it is because at first it doesn't feel truth, because subconsciously you have convinced yourself, okay, I'm just going to smoke forever for the rest of my life. That's it. I'm not going to be able to do it. And you've convinced and persuaded yourself, instead of deciding, taking your life back and living it on your terms, and deciding, okay, what do I have to do in order to meet this new objective? And I remember, as you were talking, Rex, I remember back in 2014, not too long ago, 9 years ago, and I was in I was going through a dark night of the soul, and I remember, because I was listening to Florence Scovel Shinn and The Alchemist. I was listening to that, standing in my mirror and tears rolling down my face because I was so damn angry with my life and how things were not working. But I also, because of me deciding, and it was hard, it was challenging to stand in that mirror. Louise Hay, actually, thank you, Louise Hay. And I was standing there and I was just saying, I love you. I love you. I love you. All this, doing that. But now I can actually, when I wake up every day now, I stand in front of the mirror and I can actually say that and mean it. Vanessa, I love you. Go, girl, let's get it. It has to start there, right? Is that what you're saying, right? It has to start there, because it's going totally against of what you've been programmed and conditioned in order to behave.
Well, if you grow up eating jelly donuts and bonbons and ate nothing else, but junk food, you're going to have a certain health, you're going to have a certain mindset, you're going to have a certain, condition. If you said, I want the body of a sculpted bodybuilder, you're going to have to actually go and eat right, sleep right, and do the right kind of exercise to overcome that. So, but if you blame yourself and go, well, every time I want to exercise, I go back to the couch and eat a bonbon, I sabotage myself. You're not helping anything. All you're doing is perpetuating this myth that somehow you're conflicted with yourself. What you have to go is to stop the excuses, stop the silliness, stop the BS, stop the blame, stop the whines, and go, if I want that body, I have to consistently, repeatedly, correctly do the things for long enough in order to have that body. Now, sadly, some people will tell you in order to change, you need to take massive action. You have to do all these things, and it's a struggle. And it's not. It can be, and if you want to do that, it's fine. But it also can be swift, fun, easy, and delightful if you learn how to do that. Because when most people were children, they had childhoods which may have been fraught with difficulty, but the childhood spirit was open and innocent and playful and just, and fascinated, got captivated by butterflies or kittens or something like that, until it got trained out of that by the people around them who mistreated them or abused them or just were regular everyday people and sent them to school. And then they sat in the desks and they learned that things were wrong and that they weren't always so smart and that things weren't the way, and they had to contain their energy and they shouldn't speak up and they shouldn't do these things. And so now people want to do those things, but they're programmed to be the other way. How do you change? You take charge of that programming. You reprogram the computer. You recondition yourself if you want to be that bodybuilder. You recondition your mind, your heart. You recondition your thoughts about wealth and health and success and all those things. And it's a lot easier than most people do make it out to be. And I'm not saying that it isn't difficult. I'm saying it's easy. Because if you say it's difficult, it's more likely to be difficult. Because if I can't do it, you're never going to do it. So,
right. Well, this concept makes so much sense to me because I'm in tech, right? So I manage programmers and analysts and all this kind of stuff. So it makes sense to me because when we're migrating data over to a new system, it needs to be reprogrammed so that system can accept, so that the data can align with the system's requirements, because it's coming from an old system. So that, oh, right, it's written for that to align and be accepted by the old system, but we have to rewrite that code so that the new system will accept it. Otherwise, it kicks it back, and you have failures.
Let me ask you this: does the computer ever sabotage you? No, it just does what it does, right? You want it to
Exactly.
do something different, and it's programmed to do something, and maybe there's some errors or glitches or whatever, but it's not trying to prevent you from doing anything. It's
Mhm.
just doing the only thing that it knows, and that's what humans are. And psychologists come along and go, well, that's because it's deep inside you. You're conflicted. You have all these, deep inner, and that's
Right.
a lot of unuseful, hurtful. Uh,
Well, yeah.
serves its purpose at some level, but you don't need it.
No, you don't, and it's just based on the level of awareness. That's what that's key, because that keeps me from getting frustrated, because I'm like, that's a bunch of poppycock, right? No,
Well,
it's not.
it's a theory whose time has come, and
Right.
I've been claiming it, and saying it for a long time, and people go at it,
Mhm.
sometimes, and it's like, just think it out, just think it out.
Right. And I wanted to briefly talk about this. We have 5 more minutes, so about how, when people can understand that when you're going through the transformation process of things, of, you're rewriting and you're reprogramming and you're training your brain and you're overriding it with what, and you're going against what you've been programmed to believe, is that externally you will have these experiences where it's opposing, because subconsciously it's an outward expression of, you're not there yet. It's being rejected, and you have to do more work. And I'm basing that on the test reports that we have to generate, the programmers to generate, to let us know, okay, this is what it looks like right now. Let's feed it into the system and see if it works. And if the system kicks it back, then you have a failure, you have negative experience. So basing on some of the experiences that I've had, where in the beginning I'm standing in the mirror and I'm angry and I'm mad at everybody, and but I'm saying I love myself, and deep within, this voice is saying, what is wrong with you? This is not true. Why are we doing this? Why don't you just go and do this, or take yourself out, or all of these voices, right? Because like you said, it's going against it.
Well, your brain is designed to keep you consistent so that you
Mhm.
stay alive.
Stay
You
alive.
outwit survival challenges and you
Mhm.
thrive. So when you want to change something, you want to stop smoking, you want to lose weight, or you want to do whatever, your
Right.
brain goes, whoa, 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 wait a second. If you change, you're no longer consistent. So it brings up fears, it brings up doubts, it brings up all these feelings that you go, I can't do it. And it's there to keep you alive. So if you understand that it's a gift, instead of fighting it and go, oh, you know what?
Mhm.
My own internal mechanisms are scared right now that I'm going to die because I'm stopping smoking, or I'm going to die because I'm telling the truth, or I'm going to
Mhm.
die because I feel good about myself. I don't need to. You relax, you release, you let it go, instead of resisting it, because what you resist, what you fight, it fights back. So
Mhm.
if you go, I'm not going to do that, it wants to do it more. So because do you understand? I mean, it's
It's a
all.
comfort zone for wanting to forever be in that comfort, safe place. Why do we have to do it? Have a new system? The old system was working. It's working just fine, but the new system has been proven to be more efficient, and it's going to deliver more value.
Well,
And so
Well, and
right.
I also want to make sure that people understand that your brain wants to change. It loves change. It loves challenge. It loves novelty. It loves problems. It loves all this stuff. But at the same time, it's designed to keep you consistent. So you recondition it to be the kind of person for whom change and learning and becoming who you want to be is fun and delightful and wonderful. This is
Mhm.
why if you celebrate and you're grateful and you let go and you release and you're not fighting, again, I put this in the book.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I want to say before we run out of time, it says rexsikes.com/book. If people go and get the book, Life on Your Terms, they can get it at Amazon, and come back to this website that's right there in front of them, rexsikes.com/book, and take the receipt code from Amazon and put it in the appropriate place at that website. There's a little box. I will give you a $497 training called the Mastery Loop, which is on how we master, how we learn with more fun and ease, the way we're intended to learn, not the way we've been taught in school. Because in school, they accentuate your mistakes in order to essentially control you, you know, And the way we best learn is through fun and through play and through discovery and through being captivated and fascinated. So I have the Mastery Loop training is absolutely valuable. It's a wonderful companion for the book. And so if you have the book, go get the training. If you don't have the book, get the book and then get the training. $497 is absolutely free of charge to you. It's my gift to you for getting the book, because I want people to be able to see how easy and fun it can be to change your life.
I'm doing it. I am. I'm getting it. I have the Kindle version of your book, Rex.
Yeah.
Got it last year. I'm getting it because I just you bring so much value to my spirit. You're so encouraging, enlightening, and just wow, inspiring is the word.
Well, life is meant to be wonderful. You know, I always tell people, look, you know, there's where you are and there's the destination, and obviously you want to get to your destination. But if you die before you get to your destination, because that's a possibility, or you change your mind, you never get there. So if the outcome is that you want to travel, the question becomes is how do you want to travel? Do you want it to be a struggle? Do you want it to be a painful travel? Do you want it to be fraught with difficulty? Do you want to have a celebration? Do you want a beautiful life? Do you want to have love and compassion and friendship? Do you want to make the best of every situation and learn how to do that so that whether you get to the destination or not isn't the point?
Enjoy the journey.
Wherever you are is a celebration.
That's right. That's right.
But I think a lot of people are fighting with the truth in somebody's opinion, which holds them, like you said, in that space of saying self-sabotage because they've heard something that somebody said. And I like to tell people everything that you hear that you thought was the truth could be somebody's opinion. And so it's up to you to return back to yourself and begin to study yourself and learn you. In order to self-sabotage yourself, you have to know what will sabotage yourself. So
Great point. Well, you know, Napoleon Hill said very similar to what you said. He said the problem with most people is that they substitute accurate thinking for opinion, you know, and for other people's opinion. And even in the self-improvement industry or the field of self-help, there's so much erroneous information that people say, like massive action. You don't have to take massive action. You do sometimes. Like if your car is stuck in the mud or the snow, you might have to take a little extra energy to get it going. But if your car runs out of gas and it's on a flat road, and you might need a lot of energy to push it, but once it starts going, it creates its own momentum, and all it takes is a couple of pushes. You know, you don't need that same massive action all the time because you create a momentum. And the same is true with personal change and transformation. What seems to be the hurdle that people have to get over may be there. But then after that, you don't have to keep doing it. And what I always tell people is, you know, there are people who run around a track jumping over hurdles. They actually purposely put hurdles or obstacles in the way, and that's part of their race, you know. And so if you look at life, that, you know what, hurdles are part of life. It's not a big deal. You know, it is what it is. So I'm going to run and I'm going to jump sometimes, and sometimes I'm going to. It becomes a very simple, beautiful process, and most people overthink it. And they believe opinions and they believe erroneous information, and they so often get it wrong, and then they remain stuck because they've somehow convinced themselves that they can't move forward. And we're here to tell them you can absolutely move forward. You can absolutely be who you want to be and behave how you want to behave and do the things you need to do to have what you want to have. And that's really important to know.
My thing was, if you take the struggle out of struggle, you won't have to struggle.
I love it. Indeed.
That's right.
If you stop resisting most things,
right?
There's no pushback.
Right. And you know what? You have to find, I mean, me personally, because you being a fellow actor, that's how I view all of this. I mean, I'm like, it's just a movie.
No.
What part do I want to play now? You know, and I was a contractor for 20 years, independent contractor. So I'd go on site to these different companies and everything. And, you know, whatever the job role was, that was a part that I played. And that's how I viewed it, because, you know, whether or not you don't know how long it's going to, it's going to be, whether it's going to be 3 months, 6 months, a year, depending on how good it is, right? That would determine how long you're going to be on assignment. So that's how I viewed it. I'm like, okay, what's my next gig here? And if people would just view that, you know, or at least find something that will help you to align with the flow of your life and the direction of where you want to go, because then that's when it becomes easy. It becomes resistant. It becomes hard when you are being resistant and you are going against in the opposite direction of where the stream is flowing to. So if you go with the flow, let's say you get a new car, it breaks down, you get in an accident, leading back to your wonderful attitude, celebrate everything. If you can find some joy in celebrating it, then you begin to cycle through those not so pleasing experiences much quicker to where you get to uh you know greener pastures, as they say.
You know what the number one predictor for success in health, wealth, happiness, and in all walks of life is? It's your attitude. It's whether you're optimistic or pessimistic. It's your attitude. And if your attitude doesn't serve you, if it's not powerfully positive and optimistic, then what is it? So you have to learn how to activate your attitude and move forward. And what you said there about acting, in the book, and here's what I love with the book is there's so many simple analogies and examples like acting or making a movie or being a symphony conductor or a chef. I mean, there's things that people can relate to. But actors rehearse for a play, for example. They rehearse for at least 6 weeks where they say their lines, they memorize their lines, they hit their marks, and they do it so that on opening night and the subsequent nights of the play, it looks like they've never done it before. It's that it's rehearsed, it's natural, but it is rehearsed. Stand-up comics do the same thing. They rehearse the
Right.
routines so that it looks extemporaneous, but it's actually rehearsed. They're conditioning themselves to perform on opening night and the subsequent nights or wherever they're at. That same conditioning process can be a fun process, and most actors like the process of acting. They're delighted that they get to express themselves or exude themselves in that way, whether on film or in stage, or they wouldn't be doing it. And so, it is really no different than that. Football teams, every sports team, every athlete conditions themselves to be able to perform when they need to be able to perform. When the starting pistol goes off, or the whistle blows, or somebody says go, they go. And Olympic athletes spend 4 years or longer practicing, getting ready, conditioning themselves, getting coaching, and all this kind of stuff, so that they can perform for seconds at the Olympics. Maybe minutes at the Olympics. And so it really is a conditioning process. We've already been conditioned, and if it's not the way you want to live your life, then you take charge of that conditioning, and you can recondition it, and you can create the life that you want, and you can live life on your terms and make just a beautiful experience for yourself.
Agreed. Rex, I can listen to you all night. Wow. This is going to be streaming everywhere, and it's going to be shared on the replays, and
Wow.
I'm going to boost it because I want as many people to hear this and learn and grow from this, because we're in the age of Aquarius now. It's the dawning of it, and I'm glad to be a part of this age here, where I'm on this side of it versus the other side of, I'm on the side of enlightening people versus
Well,
being stuck in.
again, how I look at what's going on right now. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. What I learned in my apartment in Los Angeles making tea. I would make tea. I'd put the pot on the stove in the kitchen, and I go in the living room, and the whistle had broken, so it wouldn't whistle. When the water was boiling, and so I'd be sitting in the living room, I'd hear all this noise, like, oh, the water's boiling, and I'd run into the kitchen, and it hadn't boiled yet, and I was like. And so I'd go back, and then, I'd check, and I would stand there and I wait, and a watch pot takes forever. So what I discovered was water is noisier before it boils, because all the atoms are colliding at 2009, 209, 210, 211 degrees, but it doesn't become steam until 2012 degrees. So it has to get to 2012, and then there's a transformation that occurs, and the steam is released, and the water quiets down into a rolling boil. So before it boils, it's noisy. When it boils, it's quieter, kind of like the darkest before the dawn.
Mhm.
So our time, when we're living in times and there's all this turbulence, it's an indication that transformation is coming.
Mm.
All these atoms and this energy is colliding. People say it's negative or it's positive and all that, but it's just the atoms bounding around until it reaches the that tipping point or that 212 degrees, and then transformation occurs. So we're in this process. And some people don't like it and they're afraid of it. And other people are like, wow, this is truly a gift to be here. So it's amazing time.
It is. I'm like George Carlin. I'm just at the front seat in the theater. I'm just enjoying the show, having my popcorn and just really digging every part of it because it's exciting. And, we could talk all night about this, but Sykes, thank you so much for
both
joining us tonight. It has been such an amazing evening. You see how the time just went by so quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, go out to rexsykes.com/book. Take advantage of this great offer. I have been listening to Rex on Clubhouse for the last 2 years, and I can honestly say that because of his insight, his sharing of wisdom, these great nuggets, I was able to really just reposition and go in a better direction of my life, and it's just for improvement. And I know that I'm applauding you for it and all of the great people that we partnered with. But yeah, Rex, I mean, I was sharing with him, ladies and gentlemen, before we came on, that he was one of the first individuals that I started listening to on Clubhouse, and I'd only been in Clubhouse for a couple of weeks, and now 2 years later,
here you are. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
So thank you, everyone, for joining. Join us Friday on the Right On with Vanessa Morning Show for another exciting episode. We're in season 11, and also next week on Spiritually Speaking and Awakening, where Michelle and I will dive into supernatural visitations. So thank you, everyone, for sharing. Thank you for caring. Thank you, podcast listeners. And until next time on Spiritually Speaking and Awakening.
Namaste.
Namaste. I'm Vanessa Klinger, your intuitive life strategist and life coach motivator.
And I'm Michelle Washington. I am your inner evolutionist and motivator.
Have a great night. Stay in love, everybody.
Thank you both.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rex.
Say goodbye. I'll take you to the park. Say goodbye.